show you a lot of different parts of what we do. So if you have a question right then and there on something that we're talking about, it's probably a good time to ask the question. Okay. So
you might want to just start it here. It's loud. So we run this grinder once every 3 months. So it only runs. So we collect all the yard waste out there.
Just to show off for us too.
Yes.
he wanted to do it. He wanted to do it.
It's fascinating. I love it.
But it's loud. So we'll just start in here. We do a lot of what we do is yard waste too. So we do about 5,000 tons of yard waste per month right now. So we process a lot of yard waste out there. So all the big tree companies that are in Jacksonville bring in their tree waste, custom tree surgeons, Davy Tree, Trees Inc., all the big tree companies that you see on the road, they all bring in their yard waste here.
You charge them to bring it here?
Yes.
How much do you charge?
So $4 per yard.
It's not a weight system.
It is.
The yard waste, so I grew up in the waste industry and it's always done by the ton.
Yeah.
But the yard waste is different.
Hey, good morning.
The yard waste is done by the yard, not the ton. The yard waste is by the yard.
Good, I would always have.
Food waste is by the ton.
We're at Sunshine Compost.
I don't think we have enough hard hats for everybody.
So Roxy was saying like that we have to introduce ourselves because
Okay.
people don't know.
Yes.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm Mike Helcourse, the owner of this facility, Sunshine Organics and Compost, along with my wife, Chris. So,
I'm Chris. I'm the boss of the
Yes.
facility. And I started, help Mike start this.
yes. So everybody grab a hard hat. We
really want everybody to wear a hard hat if possible.
But if there's not enough, we can still.
We might be missing one or two, but you should have hard hats on.
We just won't go over near the
I won't get close. Okay. I'll find a way to see that.
I can get over there to get you one.
I'm not gonna make it front. Let me see if I can hard hat shoot with that.
She said you want that one.
You think it's good that way? I don't have to
Okay. I guess you might wear a hat today.
I'll stand.
Sure, you put that.
The little knob in the back will adjust it. It'll make it bigger or smaller.
So we have a question. Organic waste is just that it's something that grows on so trees, food. But we're also organic. So we have our own certification.
Can you guys hear back there?
So he was asking about the organic certification. So he said, is it, when we say organic waste, is it just that organic waste or are you actually organic certified? Do we have organic certification? And it's both. So the term organic waste is anything such as yard waste, something that grew out of the ground, or food waste, manure, that's all classified as organic waste. But we also are on the list if we have our own organic certification. And we're working on our USCCA STA certification, which is another organic certification as well. So,
And is it that you're converting, because of the conversion process of the stream, even if it's not organic, it's considered organic at the other end?
yeah, so the feedstock is what you bring in. So if you're doing nanosolids or something like wastewater treatment sludge, you can't get it on the certification. And we're not doing anything with that. Yeah. So all the stuff that we take in, most of the stuff that we take in, and we walk up back to talk about it more, but it's large scale industrial food waste, like Budweiser stuff, grains, Maxwell, that's stuff. All the big bulk stuff that has no contamination. So as a product.
People's lawn clippings that might have all kinds of pesticides and such, and they don't do and food stuff, as long as it's commercial, it's not
we do some restaurant. And we're hoping to expand the restaurant. Part of the business.
On the other side of the flow goes to
What's that?
your primary market.
Then end users. So farmers, landscapers, and just regular owners. So we'll talk about that more again later. But we're putting in the backing line about a half a mile down the road. So you'll be able to buy compost, biochar mix, and biochar food bags, and Ace Hardware is
What's on the scale?
We'll talk about it out back. So like I said, there's about 10,000 tons sitting up here right now, about being ready to grind up. Half of this will go down back to the compost side, to the food waste side, where it gets mixed with the food waste and turned into compost. And the other half goes up to Fernandina, to Rainier, Gibbs Mill, where they turn into in Fernandina. So if you've ever seen a big mill up there, one of the two, yes. It's the one at the end of the street. First one.
And while Mike is talking about these large numbers that are coming in, something to kind of keep in the back of your mind is that the alternative of coming here would have been going to the landfill, where it produces greenhouse gases, and particularly methane. So yay for the environmental side of it coming here and being processed in an environmentally healthy way. Are we ready to go?
Yeah.
Any questions while we're in the nice, quiet, cool area? All right, let's go, guys. Can never go forward, I'm so sorry. Door never goes forward in there. How are you guys?
All right. I want to get on this side of something. Oh, sorry.
I love your shirt. Did I say anything to you about it? Your soil soldier shirt.
No.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, we're walking on the tour through the grounds.
Like I said, most of it is big bulk waste companies.
This is a tour of the Sunshine Compost.
Yeah, so Maxwell has 4 miles down the road that way, but 1 mile that way. So, they were trying to
Mm-mm. This is a walk.
And then we do a lot of craft hunting.
And it's almost 90 degrees.
Clouds up overhead.
We'll touch on that in a minute. But yes, that's for our composting system. So we'll just go right here. Real
Guys,
quick.
we're gonna walk just a little bit farther so that you can hear us more. But our food pits are up this way. This is where when the trucks come across the scale that have food waste, they come here. So if they have the tree and yard waste, obviously you saw the big pails up front. This is where they come if they have any food waste. Do you have problems with grass
So
and
this
stuff?
is-
Nope. And do we have any problems with grass?
No.
No bird. You don't see any birds flying around. How do you guys feel like it smells right here?
Very good.
This is our food. This is our food waste section.
Right, yeah,
So this would be potentially the smelliest spot of the whole place.
Oh, wow.
If you're doing composting the right way, this is how it should smell.
So yeah, this is the big
Smells
mixing pit right here. And then that was the original pit, so that's all concrete pit. This is the new one, 35 foot long by 25 foot wide, 35 foot wide by 25 foot long, and it goes down 9 feet at the bottom.
Okay, that goes down 9 feet. All the food
Covered immediately
waste
with
get
wood chips. So the wood chips keep away
dumped in there and
any
covered
birds,
with wood
any
chips.
animals. We have no problem with rats or animals or anything on site because we cover it immediately. The carbon keeps all the smells away, keeps all the birds
The carbon keeps the smells away, birds.
It's covered. We let it sit in here for about a week or two until it fills up. From here we put it out, mix it first with our excavator, and we put it out into the row on our concrete pad. So we have to be, in the state of Florida, the laws for composting are very archaic. Food waste is considered a municipal solid waste, so we have to get permitted like a landfill. So you can imagine how hard it is to permit a landfill. So it took us 3 years to get permitted here, to get our FDP permitted, or our CON permit for the city of Jacksonville. So we have to do everything on an impervious surface. All the composting areas have to be on an impervious surface, which we do concrete. So this pit is 100% concrete, the bottom, the floor, the walls. Everything that we do composting on this area, you'll see when we walk over here in a second, it's all on concrete because it has to be. In other states, you can do it right on the ground because it's just organic material. So for instance, the biosolids industry, when they do composting, they can do it right on the ground because biosolids is not considered a municipal solid waste. But food waste is, so we have to do everything on an impervious surface. So we're working with the FLCC, which is the Florida Composting Council now. We just created the Florida Composting Council, which is a branch of the USCC, the U.S. Composting Council, to change all of these laws and legislation in the state of Florida, in all the states, everywhere. So we're trying to change these laws to get these approved, and it just doesn't make sense. But anyway, we'll walk over here real quick, and Craig asked about the solar panels.
That's all right.
This is where they do some of their composting and all on concrete according to Florida law.
What we were doing was windrow composting. And what we still are doing is windrow composting. The windrows are big long they are.
Windrows composting.
Windrows are 14 foot wide by 7 feet tall.
14 feet wide, 7 feet long.
175 feet long.
175 feet long.
That big machine right there, that's a compost turner. It's a self-moving compost turner on the track. And what it does is it has a big auger underneath it. It spins the piles and that adds oxygen to the piles, which further breaks down all the organic material inside the piles.
Recently there was that factory that had that municipal recycling plant fire.
Yes.
What kind of, I mean, with all this wood and stuff, would that be very susceptible to have a fire?
It can be. There have been fires at compost.
I just, it's so hot for compost.
Yes, but what you do when with the compost, you just smother it with compost. So if it does catch fire, you just smother it with more fresh compost. So you just add fresh compost here.
How hot do they get in your piles?
160 degrees. So these piles,
160
so right now
degrees.
these windrows take about 3 to 4 months in a windrow. We turn once a week with the compost turner, add oxygen. We keep temperature levels every day. We're required to by the state of Florida, by DEP. So these piles sit at 160 degrees internal temperature from 3 days after we take it out of the pit until a week before 3 or 4 months. Which is, we know when the organic material is broken down inside the pile by the temperature. So the temperatures will tell us, and once it comes down in temperature from 160 degrees to 120 or 30 degrees, we know the organic material is broken down. That's when we know the process. So after that process, we'll put it here in the curing area, where again, it sits here for a month before it's screened, and it brings it down further in temperature because you can't drink.
All right, this is the curing area.
Another month. Yeah, earthworms are great. Yeah, they break down, and they're attracted to the organic matter. So here, what it does is we leave it for a month, and we run it through that yellow machine right there. That's just a screen. It's a trauma screen. So that gets out all the big sticks, any rocks.
That takes all the sticks, big rocks, it stays there for a month to cure, and it goes through that to take all the 6 months.
How old is it?
What's that?
The age? How old?
So it's all different piles. This pile we just ran last week. This pile is about a month old, so they all have different times. But yeah, some of the oldest stuff up front is about 8 months old. To the newer stuff is. So we process about one of these piles every other week. So what we do, we make about right now we're making about 18,000 tons of finished compost per year.
18,000
That's our competition. We have to set up the fees as the landfill. Our driver is 26 miles up to 301, 26 miles back, plus an hour trip to the car. Down, 3 hour round trip, 3 callers, 3 hours, we still time to get up there, landfill and back.
And then if your waste that's like filtered out, like the
Yes.
large sticks or plastics or whatever, do you take that then to the regular waste recycling?
No, you just take
You
the
just
plastic
plant.
out and overflow back.
Does the plastic take thousands of years?
We don't get much plastic. It's just a few pieces here. We competition.
Okay.
So we determine our own length, our own ticket fee, we charge whatever we want to charge. But the landfill is kind of our competition. Because that's the only other thing that we take most of this.
And that varies kind of everyone here.
Yeah, well, it does, but it's pretty solid
Across the state.
across the state.
Got it.
It's all low across the state. So, for the most part, in other states, New York, Massachusetts, they're all huge, high, $200 plus
Sure.
per ton.
And that's why sometimes they'll ship across borders.
Right. Yeah, they'll barge out of New York down to
Yeah.
Florida or down to South Carolina. No. We explored that. My wife explored that. It's my nonprofit with that. But we just been, we're a for-profit business, so we're just pretty screwed on that. Yes, it is. Yeah, and there's a lot more out there for nonprofits. There's not a lot of grants for profit businesses. Like that was what was good about our grant. So we were 350 applicants for this for profit businesses. 350 applicants. We were one of 21 to get it. So there's 12 acres here on site. We had to, well, we do a lot of community education. So yeah, we need it with the city too. So the city talk that off the way. They're open to land growing, you know. So there's a lot of cases, you know. But we also do a lot of community gardens work. So last year we donated 1,000. Under the ASP system, this is the new composting system here. This is all the new technology that we aerated static tiles. So
Aerated static tiles in the system.
Oh no, those are just water tanks. Okay. FTK requires us to have those flow. So again, in the state, we have to have our own separate. We can take them on here. they're too dry, then it doesn't break down the organic material. So, and moisture levels is one of the biggest issues that we have here in Florida. They're either too wet or they're too dry. So right now it's too dry, obviously. So when we take these piles out of the pit, a lot of the stuff we get is wet material. So we get this stuff from Palatka. They bred eggplant. There's an eggplant facility down there where they bred eggplants. It's all water waste with red waste in it. We get a lot of that. So when the stuff that comes out of the pit comes out, it's 60 to 70% moisture levels. By the time it's done in the windrow, it's about 20% moisture levels. So a lot of that, we're losing a lot of moisture due to evaporation in the state. So the covers here with this system will help us keep a lot of the moisture inside. So we really want the moisture level to be about 30 to 40%.
You use the totes for what materials are?
So that's humic acid. So another material that we repurpose in the area. There's a company up the road called Humic Road Solutions. And humic acid is found naturally in the ground. You can buy it in stores like fish emulsion. They bottle it up. So humic acid is found under the layer of phosphorus naturally in the ground. So there's a company that mines it in Canada, and these guys buy it from them, and then they bottle it and buy it in a liquid bottle in stores in hardware like fish emulsion. That's a sludge that's left over from the process. It's thick. It's really thick like molasses. So farmers love this stuff, but they can't spread it on their fields. So what we found is we can take this product. It's high in calcium, high in magnesium, high in potassium. It's a really good quality product, but we introduce it on the front end, and then as we turn it into our piles, it mixes it in really nicely. So it's a nice extra boost for our piles.
Can they feed it to the animals?
Not that I know of. They might try to. I don't know if the animals will eat it or not. It's not like a liquid.
If you're having your time,
Yes.
you also use the other organic chemistry to improve the balance.
Some microbes inside the piles, you're saying? No, because we do a little microbe work here and there, but mostly we just let our piles have plenty of microbes in them. That's why they get up to 160 degrees. So most facilities in the country have the opposite problems as ours when we're making piles. Number one, they can't get enough carbon in their facilities. We have too much carbon here. We have an abundance of carbon. So if you're in the Northeast or the Pacific Northwest, they can't get enough carbon. They can't get enough tree waste to mix with their food waste. We have that opposite problem, but we also have the problem where our piles, a lot of those facilities can't get their piles hot enough. So we know in the state you have to have your piles over 140 degrees for 3 days straight. That gets rid of all the E. coli, salmonella, any bad bacteria that's in the piles. That will kill it off for 3 days straight at 140 degrees. Ours get too hot, where if they go over 160 degrees, we know that they're killing off the good bacteria as well as the bad bacteria. So we have to watch our piles with the opposite problem. But yeah, so there's plenty of microbes in the piles. We just have to keep them. But we have been experimenting with extra microbes.
So then if it gets too hot, you have to rewater them down, is that it?
Yeah, so
To cool them
moisture.
off to
Yeah,
the right
so
degree?
add more moisture.
How do you monitor?
Just temperature gauges mostly right now.
That are inside the pile?
Yes. So we have big long numbers.
The numbers inside the piles. Temperature gauges.
But we can walk out back. This is kind of the specialty area back here. If anybody doesn't have any other questions.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, those just need to be cleaned up. So they did the perforated pipe.
Oh, so
That's
that
just
came
the,
off the.
yeah, they drilled the holes. They drilled the holes right here. We just have to clean it up. Yeah.
This is biochar.
This is bio. You can see
It's very mis. I told him to put copies up and he put that.
it is. It's biomass charcoal. Biochar stands for biomass charcoal. So this, so biochar is biomass charcoal. So you can see how light and porous it is. It's made from biomass. So anything that wants to go out of the ground can be made into biochar. So it's done by heating at very high temperatures, 1600 degrees Fahrenheit, with little to no oxygen. So it's so light and porous. It's got pores inside of it. So at the high temperatures, what it does is it creates all the pores inside of the biomass, where it has a lot of surface area. So this product is something that we make here, and it's for every 1 ton of biochar we produce, it's like 1 ton of carbon from the atmosphere and put it back into the ground or into any useful product that we find. So this is done with what we did is we did it with 2 kilns. Well, originally we were getting these big 100-year oak trees here that were bigger than my truck that we couldn't put through the grinder because it would break our equipment. So I started doing research, what can we do with it, and I found biochar. Biochar is the oldest agricultural practice that nobody's ever heard of. So the ancient Aztecs did this. It was called terra preta 4,000 years ago. So what they would do, so in South and Central America, the ground was infertile. So it was all desert, like the Sahara Desert is now in northern Africa. So at the end of every season, the ancient Aztecs 4,000 years ago would burn their crops and then smother it with a thin layer of soil. After 1,000 years of doing that, they created a dark, rich soil that's in the Amazon now, and it's now all fertile ground, very rich fertile ground. So that was the original biochar. So what we did back there was originally we dug this big pit, and we put all those big oak trees inside. We got it going really hot, and then we smothered it with a thin layer of soil. We came back in 3 or 4 days, we dug it out, it was all biochar.
That quickly.
Yeah, 3 or 4 days. But that's obviously a laborious process. And then we'd have to wash it down as we dug it out. So then we just got 2 kilns. We get all the board scrap from Florida cypress down the road. They take cypress logs and cut them into boards. So those kilns were then fed with cypress wood after that. This is what this material is here. And now we just got a grant. We took those 2 kilns out of production and we got the grant. The grant is a new biochar system. It's in 5 overseas containers like that, the 40-yard overseas containers, completely enclosed. So the only amount of carbon that's released is the small amount of carbon that's introduced on the front end to keep the fires burning. Other than that, it's a thermal energy. The thermal energy from the whole process, the burning of the wood, powers the system itself. So it's a completely enclosed system. There's no energy source. We don't need any energy to power the system. We put 30 tons of feedstock in on the front end per day, and it gives us 6 to 7 tons of finished biochar out on the back end per day. And that will make us the largest standalone biochar producer in the Southeast. Southeast United States. So that's not like a paper mill. So some of the paper mills burn wood and then they get the technically biochar, but standalone producers of biochar will be the largest producer in the Southeast. So,
Who's the customer for it?
so there's many different uses for this product. So this right now farmers use this. So it's straight carbon for your soil when you put it in the soil. It depends on the application, but this in the soil you want it in a fine powder form. We leave this big because there's other uses for it. So right now, for instance, UCF is building biofilters with it. They filter USF, sorry, I would say UCF. They're filtering leachate water from landfills to get the tannin out, so that they can release the water back to the utility companies and then treat it again and release it back to the customers. But they're also there's companies out there building biofilters for the green algae blooms in the state to filter the tributary rivers going into the St. John to stop the green algae blooms. It won't stop the problem on the front end, but it'll help. It'll help filter. But if you've ever bought a Brita water filter, that's what this is. It's done in more of a lab setting than out in the field, but it's the same type material, activated carbon and biochar.
And you can brush your teeth.
Well, yes, and charcoal, yes, anything like the
Once
charcoal.
this leaching pond.
She said, don't step too far and there's a pit.
Leachate pond is water runoff from landfills.
I don't want to sink.
Landfills, like we have a leachate pond right there. That's all the runoff from our waste system. So all the sewage runs off into a pond. So leachate from landfills, they have a lot
So if you
worse
have garbage
stuff.
landfill, they have
A lot worse stuff in there. So there's a lot of tannin, there's a lot of bad stuff in there. So this will filter it all out. This filters it out, and then they can enough to release back to the utility companies that can then retreat it and then get it back.
I'll give you a non-scientific version that, like layman terms of how it works.
Yeah. The surface.
This is very porous, so it has a lot of like microscopic holes that you can't see. So kind of keep that in your mind. The second thing is that we talked about microbes. So there's good microbes and there's bad microbes, right? But the microbes in the soil, for plants to grow and thrive, you need those microbes in the soil, and they need to eat. And there's a lot of nutrients that comes from the leachate, and when you have a storm, everything, it'll flow through. If you just have sand, all that nutrients flows so fast through the sand in our sandy soils in Florida, right? So it goes right through the sand, and the little microbes are like, oh, I want a bite of that, but it flows away. When you put the biochar in, all the nutrients goes to the biochar and all the pores that it has, and it sits there. And the microbes can come over and have their little dinner and eat it, and then for lack of being scientific at all, they kind of like poop it out. And whatever they poop out, that's the process of their bodies processing the bad nutrients creates a good nutrients. And that's how you make the soil nice. But if the filter is not in there, all that nutrients just flows right through and goes into our waterways. So you put the biochar in, and it gives it kind of like a buffet for the good. It holds it there. So that's my non-scientific version.
That was good.
Yeah.
So you should have a layer of that in your home garden?
A lot of people will put a layer
So
out.
yeah, in the soil, what it does is it attracts all the nutrients to
Sure.
it and holds it for plants to feed off for 10 years.
Is it accurate to say it's kind of like a binder?
Yeah.
But you
So-
mentioned it needed to be powdered.
Yes. Yeah. So
The
we
blender.
either break it up here, or you can just bring it home and run it over with your car tire and
There
Yeah.
you go.
just put it on your
Get
driveway,
your
run it over a few
frustrations out
times,
today.
and then it's powder, and then just put it in your garden, or whatever. Yeah, but we can grind it up here, but we leave it big because of the end users. We don't know what they're using.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
biofilters, we
They
want
might
the big,
want bigger.
the big surface area. In the soil, we want it in a powder form, where it can attract
And
everything.
at Christmas,
hold it
you
in.
can sell it to people who need it for storm.
Yes, exactly.
That would be a good present, though. For good kids.
But yeah, and now there's new legislation coming too with bioswales and stormwater runoff and stormwater treatments. So I don't know if you want to touch that.
I won't go into it too much, but a law just passed. The state of Florida passed a law that went into effect on May 7th, so two days ago, that developers, and this could be anybody who's developing any type of residential or commercial property, has to now prove that 80% of stormwater runoff, 80% of that nutrients is being reduced by 80%. In the past, developers had to, and Sarah, you probably could help me on this, but in the past, developers had to have an engineer say, oh yeah, this will work.
So hay
Now,
bales or something like
hay
that.
bale, whatever, they had
Really
the engineer say, yeah, this process will reduce the nutrient runoff. Now, what the new law says is they have to prove it. So they don't just have to say the engineer says it works. They have to actually prove that it's working, and they have to actually show that they're reducing 80% of the nutrients. Well, on the list of best management practices is using sand media filters, and we've talked with the Florida DEP, and biochar is on that list of things that will work. So people can now use our biochar in new development, in any type of stormwater runoff ponds or systems or bioswales or anything. They can use our biochar as a filter. And USF did do a study the last year. They've been studying our biochar for stormwater runoff. They tested it for cattle runoff, and they tested it in a large-scale nursery for water runoff. And in all of the studies that they did, biochar outperformed every other media and reduced the nutrients, including arsenic, more than anything else. And it's all published. So we actually have that published in a scientific third-party publication. Yeah. And this law that went into effect 2 days ago, developers have 18 months to kind of get themselves, they don't need to do it for the next 18 months, but after that, then it's going to be a requirement.
I know.
I'm glad that we have something that we can give them and say this works. So if you know any engineers that are looking for ways to prove, tell them they can come see us.
Oh, right.
Right, last little section up here.
So this is the specialty area back here. So you get a lot of southern yellow pine. Like southern yellow pine.
Yeah, I better keep me a piece of it.
Not commodities anymore.
What are you doing? I'm gonna keep a piece of it.
This is just a, this right here is just a multiplier. If you've ever been around Jacksonville or anywhere in the state of Florida, I'm sure you've seen open air burns. So there is a lot.
Construction site, you see them burning at a construction site.
Unfortunately, they only get fined about $500 a day.
It's illegal,
Open air
but it's,
burning.
yeah.
Yeah, it is illegal, but the fine is $500 a day, and it would cost them a lot more in one truckload to bring it here.
They just pay the fine.
Yeah.
Well, now you have a solution. So now if you see them burning, instead of, you can complain about it, but they're probably have their rights that they can just burn it and pay the $500 a day, or they can rent this biochar machine from us. It's portable, so we can bring it to the job site for them, and they can use it and make biochar. And we charge $2,500 a month, so it's way less than $500 a day. And they can put all of their wood waste in here, and it makes the biochar.
So it is open air, so it does allow some carbon to escape, but there's blowers on the top. The blowers keep all the smoke inside, keep all the ash inside, but then you're also left with this biochar that you can reintroduce to your soil.
How long would it take? I mean, take that like the area they're trying to burn. I mean, how long would it take to put it into that little
You can do about 6 tons per hour.
Really?
You just dump it in the top?
Yeah, so you just dump it over the top, so you get the
And they
fire
can move it
burning
around
underneath, you put in a lot of dry stuff in on the bottom, you get the fire burning, then once the fire's burning, you put the blowers on, the blower keeps the fire going underneath.
So they can put it out there. Yep.
How do you empty it?
It's got a track on, it's got a sled on the bottom, you just drag it along with your excavator. So when you're done, you just drag it out, keep dragging it along, you can move it to another pile, move it right next to it, or whatever, and then you can burn it. So it's a solution for burning. Right, exactly, because it keeps the ash inside, keeps most of the smoke inside.
Does it eliminate the $500 fine?
Yes. It's approved by the U.S. Forestry Council, the U.S. Forestry Service. It's approved by the EPA. Now this is palm tree waste. So palm tree waste is a nuisance for most communities. So nobody can do anything with palm tree waste. Nobody wants it. The landfills don't want it. The mulchers don't want it. You can't turn it into mulch and put it in your yard. When you grind this stuff up, it turns it into spaghetti. Almost it looks like spaghetti. So this is our new source for biochar. So as a whole, palm tree waste has a lot of nutrients. It's a grass, right? Technically it's a grass. It's got a lot of nitrogen in it. It's got a lot of good qualities in it. You just can't do anything with it. But if we can take this and turn it into biochar, your feedstock matters when you're doing biochar. What you're using as your front end use or your front end feedstock matters. And this is a great feedstock. Like I said, it's got a lot of nutrients in it, a lot of good qualities. So we think this is going to be a big game changer for us. We can take in all that palm tree waste, everything that nobody wants or no communities want, and we can turn it into a very useful product. So
So palm trees are
So
very
with our-
abundant in Florida, and the landfills don't want them. You can't burn them, like Mike was saying. So we felt like when we got the grant, we had the opportunity to buy that large biochar machine, which is being custom built for us right now. About an 8 or 9 month window where they're custom building it. And Mike, being the genius that he is, decided that we should custom build it so that the feedstock is a mix of palm tree, mostly palm trees.
Wood chips and palm trees.
Wood chips and palm trees.
And pallet.
Yeah, so we're getting rid of something that is a nuisance in the landfills, a nuisance for waste management, and we're processing it in a very, very eco-friendly way.
Awesome.
The one that you're having built is much larger than this.
Yes, it's 5 of those 40-yard overseas containers put together. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you said pallets. Do people pay to dump pallets here for you too?
Yeah.
How do you get
Yeah,
the nails
pallets,
out?
Pallets is
The
another
machine takes them out.
So all
The
those
machine
machines,
does?
Yep.
all those machines have magnets on them.
Oh, how lovely.
Yeah. So all the nails come out in the conveyor system.
So treated wood and
No treated wood.
no treated wood. And then what about diseased wood? The heat takes care of it?
Yes. Yeah. So 1600 degrees. So these systems will get PFAS out of anything too. So there's companies that do it with biosolids, with wastewater treatment sludge, and they've done tests on it. It gets PFAS out of it. It burns it at such high temperatures, 1600 degrees Fahrenheit. It gets the temperature so hot that it gets all of anything that's in and out. So
How do you know with pallet wood that is not treated? A lot of it comes from overseas, different sources.
you can tell what's what when you get the pallets. I mean, for most
Not all
things.
mixed up.
Yeah.
We'll have a quality control manager on site when things get dropped off and do checking for contamination.
Like the Chet pallets, the blue ones, those are all the softwood. So yeah, it's just.
How many sacks do you have there?
What's that?
How many sacks do you have?
Right now we have 7.
Probably
When we
feel
get
like
the
not enough.
right, when we get the biochar machine, we'll add 2 more. And we'll add another delivery driver at some point. So, we do everything with a lot of machinery.
Yeah.
So it's we don't have a large head count for labor, but yeah.
Self-capitalized?
Yes. Yep. And then another thing that we do, so that's the cypress wood that we were making. So now we make cypress mulch with that. So stumps we can take, stumps hold the nutrients from all of the trees, and they just grind it into what we call dirty mulch.
Like, I'm just wondering, like,
No, not yet.
okay, getting close. I'm just thinking like a big storm.
Right.
Like, it must be inundated.
Yeah, the big storms. That's why we're clearing that whole area.
Right. Yeah.
We tried to get on FEMA's list of approved site, and they said they don't approve them. They only approve the people who are picking up.
Yeah, so they don't give us, they don't pay us money, they pay the people who pick it up and bring it to us.
Wow.
Are they willing to give you the list of picker-uppers so you can do easy?
Did they? I can't remember if they. I think I did get a list of like 12.
And they don't get FEMA if something happened.
But we can bring it wherever they want.
Right.
I'm trying to get them to change that so that they can actually have the friendly version of
Right.
approved places they can bring it. Well, that kind of wraps up our tour, right, Dave?
Yep.
Any other questions or anything that's
Amazing.
a lot of things going
Really,
on? Yeah.
really amazing.
Did you get,
You
get that lighter in there too?
What's that?
Pine stump? You get pine lighter?
The fine stuff? Yeah. In there? Yeah.
That makes it easy to run.
Right.
Nice to see waste being used. Yeah,
Right.
that's for sure. What percent of the operation would you say is the food waste part of it?
For the tonnages you mean?
Yeah,
like overall?
yeah.
It's probably about 15 to 20%.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, this is so different from what I expected.
Right.
Amazing.
We do
In a
about,
good way.
we do about 5,000 tons of tree waste, specialized waste back here, and about 1,000 we'd like to get to the point where we mix everything, all the food waste with compost, or with food waste to make compost.
So you need both.
We don't
food
have,
waste.
right,
But it has to
yeah,
without
Pure.
chemicals on it.
right.
Yeah.
Clean food waste.
So how do you know? How do you get clean food waste? Like some restaurants and stuff.
Well, we just,
Okay.
so that side is a business almost in itself.
Right.
So the collection, the monitoring of what's coming in, that's almost a business in itself. So that's why we've been kind of standoffish. We were hoping some other company, a lot of cities have just pickup companies that will come in, pick up stuff and bring it to us. And they're in charge of that because then we hold them accountable, not the restaurants themselves. We don't have time to chase 1,000 restaurants around to make sure they're not putting contamination in their bins. We were hoping eventually somebody would move in. They really haven't. So we've been kind of waiting to kind of get on that. But that's the big nugget, right? That's the game changer if you can do that. Is get a lot of those restaurants on board to divert their waste.
The big producers are manufacturers like
Right.
from Budweiser and Maxwell,
Right.
and then I'm assuming like hospitality. What's the next one? Like a school, university, cafeterias,
Yeah, so
hospitality.
hospitals is one. Yeah, hospitality would be another one.
And then restaurants, just
Yeah.
because they're
I bet that's
smaller
big.
and they're all.
So yeah, we break them down into tiers. So yeah, tiers, the restaurants are smaller, but there's an abundance.
Right.
So it takes longer to collect. So
So what constitutes contamination though? Because like surely a hospital's not serving like organic vegetables, right?
no,
So-
but they don't need to serve organic vegetables.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just so contamination would be a lot of the workers would throw their gloves in there. Silverware is a huge one.
Gotcha.
All that stuff that so it's just
But a little bit of pesticides.
Yes.
Right.
The other question I have is, I've been in a city where they collect, vegetable waste. At your pickup, you have your
Curbside.
recyclable, you
Yes.
have your trash, and you have your compost.
yeah.
How is Jacksonville on board with that at
That's-
all? Or is that just too funny?
That's the 5 to 10 year plan.
Okay, all right.
It's the 30,000 foot view instead of, but
Alright.
that's our ultimate goal is to get
Okay.
to that point.
But-
At that point, we would have to add sorting stations here
Yeah.
to sort out all the trash.
Yeah, because I see what goes in recyclable bins, and it's
Yeah.
not good.
But you guys, but
They're extra trash cans.
But as an advocate, you have to have the willingness to pay, because it's so your solid waste bill would go up, and there's not a willingness to pay in this region, and it's so those that are for it really need to start advocating. So there's so many benefits. Hey,
So,
Isha.
for instance, we're trying to open the Gainesville and Orlando location right now. Both of them want to do residential curbside pickups right away. They already have the ordinances in place to do it, so they've already passed the legislation. They just have to put it in place. They need a facility like ours there before they do it. So.
And one of the drivers in Orlando is they have climate goals, so they need to reduce their solid waste to help with those goals. So it's a whole driver.
Right.
But for the public can help drive those.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. If they don't hear from.
It would be better almost have collection stations that you could bring it to, because I'm a family of two. I'm not gonna fill one of those big.
But you need land and you need stuff.
Yeah. Never ending. You gotta get people on board.
Do the right
I
thing.
know. Thank you very much.
Thank
Very
you.
fascinating.
Yes.
We drove from Nassau County.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, we're on Amelia Island.
Yeah. So we're working with Wildlight right now to try to get all the new development that's going in. We want to add, all that soil up there is really sandy.
It
If
is.
you drive by, you can see all the pine trees. So we're working with them. Dr. Pearson from the U.S. He's trying to get this jumped off for us. He's a soil advocate. He's been trying. I know.
So we really should.
Yeah. So they really should. be
If
using
nothing
this.
else, shame.
Yeah, exactly. So they're trying to incorporate our stuff in this. And that's why I bought this biochar. Because they've been getting complaints. They have 12,000 acres of that, so they burn it.
Yes, they do.
Not the clear cut. Yeah.
Some of the old live
Okay, I got my workout today. I learned some information. I hope y'all enjoyed the little tour. I learned a lot today, especially about biochar. These are the solar that they're setting up for the new system. Well, the trailers they're going to get for the biochar. So this is going to work out and a learning experience. If you can ever come, it's a great tour. Very informational. I'm going to try to get inside so I can get a picture of the posters. And then I will end my live. There's a walk, huh? That was a walk. They do sell compost to the public, but I think they have another place where you have to go to actually pick it up. Just putting it in the shredder. You can see it shooting out down there at the end. Make piles or add on to that pile. Alright, so we're going back inside. I'm going to get a picture of the posters. And that's a weight of what they're actually lifting here.
It must be. Were all of the tours this well attended?
No, this was the most.
Just a while, I figured that.
Yes. I think there's something else. Tiffany might have one.
Thank you so much, very interesting.
And there's one Tiffany did a nice.
So we're in the bag.
Got it. That is a good idea. Okay, I love that. I got it.
Did you get a magazine too?